Revealed, Iran may have blinded U.S. forces just as the Middle East war began. Iranian missiles reportedly struck a key U.S. command nerve center, raising fresh questions about military vulnerability. Iran's Al-Udeid strike in Qatar is fueling new scrutiny over U.S. exposure in the Gulf. America's Gulf War hub appears to have been left exposed by Iran's precision strike on the CAOC. Fresh details are emerging about a reported strike on Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Defense Security Asia claimed Iranian missiles hit the U.S. Combined Air Operations Center. The attack reportedly took place during the opening phase of the 2026 U.S. Iran war. The strike is being described as exposing growing vulnerabilities in America's forward command and control architecture. Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar is widely seen as a key U.S. command hub in the Gulf. Even one of the most heavily protected operational headquarters reportedly could not fully shield itself. Defense Security Asia reported, and I quote, "According to details confirmed by senior American officials, multiple Iranian missiles directly struck the CAOC complex at Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar, rendering the facility completely unusable despite its hardened construction and extensive fiber-optic command infrastructure. The operational consequences could have been strategically catastrophic because the CAOC had directed coalition air operations across the Middle East for more than 2 decades, including campaigns spanning Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, the Red Sea, and anti-Houthi operations. No American or coalition personnel were injured during the strike because U.S. planners had already anticipated the likelihood of Iranian missile attacks against Al-Udeid and relocated operational personnel before the conflict escalated into open regional warfare. The Pentagon had quietly transferred critical air campaign coordination functions to Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, where a parallel CAOC architecture had already been expanded and exercised as part of long-term contingency planning. The successful transition of command authority from Qatar to the continental United States demonstrated the Pentagon's increasing reliance on distributed command and control structures, designed to preserve operational continuity during high-intensity missile conflicts. The strike also reinforced growing Pentagon concerns that 4 deployed American military hubs within approximately 175 miles of Iran now operate permanently inside Tehran's expanding ballistic missile engagement envelope. Unquote. Notably, the hardened CAOC complex reportedly cost about $60 million to build. The reported Iranian strike showed how relatively inexpensive ballistic missile salvos can threaten such facilities. Iran's IRGC has claimed responsibility for the latest attacks on Kuwait and Bahrain. The IRGC said it targeted U.S. military bases in the 2 Gulf states, according to Times of Israel. Iran said the attack was retaliation for U.S. strikes on its radar sites earlier in the night. IRGC statement said, and I quote, "At 1:30 this morning, for offending tankers, with the instigation and guidance of the U.S. aggressor army, without coordination and without paying attention to the warnings of the IRGC Navy, intended to leave the Strait of Hormuz illegally." Following this incident, at 2 o'clock, American drones hit a telecommunications tower in Qeshm and a mast in Sirak with 2 projectiles. In response to the aggression of the American child-killing army, 2 American air bases in Kuwait named Ali al-Salem and the remaining important facilities of the 5th Fleet of the American Navy in Bahrain were immediately targeted by IRGC Aerospace Force ballistic missiles. "We warn the aggressor and child-killer enemy that if these evils are repeated, a limited response will not suffice. You will be responsible for the consequences of the complete closure of the Strait of Hormuz on the exit of your oil and gas." Unquote. Meanwhile, the U.S. military appears to be trying to contain the fallout, saying Iran launched 7 ballistic missiles. U.S. officials said the missiles were fired toward Kuwait and Bahrain, according to Times of Israel. The missiles were launched hours after the U.S. said it had thwarted 4 Iranian one-way attack drones. U.S. Central Command statement said, and I quote, "U.S. forces intercepted multiple Iranian ballistic missiles and drones launched by Iran toward the Strait of Hormuz and Gulf neighbors, June 5. Iran fired 7 ballistic missiles toward Kuwait and Bahrain hours after U.S. Central Command CENTCOM shot down 4 Iranian one-way attack drones that were launched toward the Strait of Hormuz. The attack drones posed an immediate threat to regional maritime traffic. U.S. forces subsequently struck Iranian coastal surveillance radar sites in Gorak and on Qeshm Island to defend against further maritime attacks. Initial assessments indicate 6 of the missiles launched by Iran were intercepted and a 7th did not reach its intended target. There are currently no reports of harm to U.S. personnel, and Iranian claims of damaging U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain are false. CENTCOM forces remain vigilant and postured to continue responding to unwarranted Iranian aggression in self-defense. Unquote. The IRGC claimed the latest strike after a former commander warned of a wider conflict.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.